Peace, family. How are y'all doing today? Um, hey, Sister Nadia, Assalamu alaikum. So we're gonna get right into this because my husband has work in a second. And as you all know, we are on chapter 6. It's been a while since I did a read along. But we are on chapter 6 of Real Love by Ava Muhammad. And the title of chapter 6 is Roots of Domestic Violence. So if you'd like to catch up with us, chapters 1 through 5 are on a YouTube playlist. So if you go to the link in my bio and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you will see a YouTube icon and go ahead and click on that. So we're going to get right into it and then we'll have the commentary at the end. Chapter 6, Roots of Domestic Violence. Where power is exercised, there is a potential for violence. Almost every human relationship or interaction involves a power struggle, and one has some control over the other. Power can manifest in various ways. You may have more authority as matter of law, while I may have more authority as matter of moral and ethics. I may have a superior command of language, while you may have a stronger personality. You may have impeccable logic, while I may be a master at manipulating emotions. You may have more academic knowledge, while I may have more experience. It goes on and on. Allah God created male and female. Hey y'all, thank you for tuning in. Allah created male and female to be interdependent. We need each other. In the ideal situation, the power shifts back and forth in accordance with which one the Creator made to be best suited to control a specific circumstance. In marriage, where you share close quarters and feelings run deep, power is difficult. It's supposed to be A. Power is a difficult issue, and most of us have no training for it. The answers are not obvious as they seem. It may look as though one clearly is in charge, but just beneath the surface, it is the opposite. It appears to me that domestic violence is not a cause, but an effect. It grows out of a kind of pathology that develops in a relationship between a man and a woman. Pathology is the science or study of the origin, course, and nature of diseases. Patho is from the Greek language meaning suffering. In the realm of love, we are dealing with disturbances of the mind and spirit, which manifest in verbal and physical abuse. One pathology in the love relationship that can produce violence is the issue of authority and power. By nature, the man is in authority over the household. However, that authority arises from fulfilling his natural responsibility to protect and provide for his wife and children. When the woman has to share financial responsibility, it begins to produce a shift in authority. This can create tension, which leads to violence. If a man is spiritually underdeveloped and his natural position of authority is threatened, he will resort to physical force to maintain control. Also, some men have a more passive personality, and the woman they are with has a more aggressive personality. Slowly, as the relationship progresses, one takes on authority and the other begins to submit. In some cases, power moves back and forth, but in such an extreme manner that one is always dominant. In other words, the marriage is not a shared experience. It is you or me. We learned earlier that love is the mother of emotions. Love then can give birth to such painful emotions as jealousy, suspicion, melancholy, disappointment, rejection, etc. The big brother or sister of these is insecurity. We think of love as being a source of feelings of security. The dark side of love is its ability to upset your sense of stability. In many instances, you have a couple who, when they were living single as individuals, were reasonably happy, free, and independent. They felt confident and self assured. Then they fell in love and somehow got into a state of anxiety and insecurity. Another area where pathology occurs is the common experience of insecurity that grows out of intimate relationships. Sometimes there is an unnecessary degree of interest, sometimes even an obsession with former relationships the other person may have had. Make and female go through this. Okay, that's supposed to say male. Male and female go through this. But there are some men who find it impossible to ignore a woman's past, even though her relationships were before he met her. Such men are extremely sensitive to any object in the house that belonged to or was purchased by another man. They torture themselves by interrogating the woman about her former lovers. On one hand, they are delighted to pin her with evidence of previous intimacies, but on the other hand, the image of it causes excruciating pain. Telephone calls and mail are scrutinized. The most sensitive issue, even if it is on a subconscious level, is the presence of children from a previous marriage or affair. It takes a highly developed man to be able to examine the meaning of father and understand its far-reaching implications, which go way beyond the biology. Unfortunately, a significant number of men experience a seething rage under the surface when they see a child from a previous relationship because it produces an image of another man engaged in sexual act with a woman who is now his. He feels threatened, he feels angry, and he is now in a constant state of tension just beneath the veneer of his outward behavior. His love for this woman has actually placed focus on his own fundamental insecurities and jealous temperament. His problem is not his wife's prior history, it is his own spiritual condition. But the point is, we now have a situation ripe for violence to erupt. This is not to place blame on men alone, because by nature, a man desires a chaste woman, even a virgin, as his bride. By nature, a woman wants to be that. However, the harsh realities of slavery, racism, sexism, and immorality that make up the landscape of America make it highly probable that most men will marry a woman with previous experience. As a people, we have to come to grips with our condition, even as we work out a means to change it. One important and effective means of preventing domestic violence is for the courtship to be under the scrutiny of male family members or authority figures who have the best interest of the woman at heart. They are able to detect the potential for violent behavior. Again, this is why we have a process of courtship in the Nation of Islam. Intense feelings will bring the spirit and its condition to the foreground, where old patterns reveal themselves. We have to remember that the spirit always embraces more than just the immediate situation that is going on in actual life. It overs a range of time, going far back to disturbing problems we know nothing about. Love not only gives life, it gives service to the soul. Sometimes it does this in a negative way. Love for a person can make us somewhat insane because it breaks down our defenses. Jealousy is a natural experience everyone has at some point. But when a man or woman is overcome with jealousy, we can be dangerous. You need to determine the cause, which is often rooted in self-pity. Submission to Allah God can turn self-pity into courage. Jealous people often engage in acts of violence because of their deep uncertainty about self. If we are willing to examine this trait, Allah God will help us confront painful issues that are producing this behavior, giving us the opportunity to develop strength of character. Whether we are the abuser or the abused, we need the cultivation of courage, civilized behavior, and self-respect. Self-respect and dignity prevents you from abusing others and from letting others abuse you. The teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad offer us the way to develop the attributes which will elevate our condition to a point where we can resolve conflict without resorting to violence. Okay, so that is chapter 6 of Real Love by student minister Ava Muhammad, and it's called the Roots of Domestic Violence. Like I said before, we have read chapters 1 through 5. They're currently on a playlist on my YouTube. So if you want to listen to chapters 1 through 5, go ahead and click the link in my bio, scroll down, click the YouTube icon, and it's all on the playlist there for you to absorb. And share this out with some people that you think could benefit. I'm going to save this on my page for sure. And I'm also going to upload it to YouTube. And so I'm just going to go back real quick and go through some of the comments because I seen y'all up in here doing the thing. Um, wave, 100 pathos. Yes, sir. And pathos is, what does she say pathos is? Ooh. It's from Greek and it means suffering. She said, exactly right. Yes. Wow. Wow. Will this be saved? Yes, ma'am. It definitely will be saved. And if you're just tuning in, you can go on to YouTube and listen to chapters 1 through 5. And chapter 1 through 5 is deep. The importance of communication, what it means to be a helpmeet. And y'all know we love that kind of information. Next book, club book. And the next thing, deep uncertainty about self. Yes, ma'am, because when we don't love ourselves, we allow anybody to do just about anything in the name of being accepted. I love it. Peace, family, peace. And so I want to kind of go over a few things. Like I said, share this out with some people that you think could benefit. And if you have benefit, support your sister and cash at me something. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and there was one part that stuck out to me, and I'm going to find it. As a man, we have to come to grips with our condition. One important effective means of preventing bench violence is for the courtship to be. Okay, so it says one important effective means of preventing domestic violence is for the courtship to be under the scrutiny of male family members or authority figures. Now, one thing that I have noticed, right, is that sometimes when you get with someone that has a propensity to be abusive or be over controlling, they will remove you from those that you love, and those that actually have the best interests at heart, right? And that's why this part really stuck out to me because she's essentially saying that if you allow that person to be around those that love you, the people that love you will help you better to be able to discern if that person is actually for you as far as relationship and for you as far as them encouraging the growth within your life, right? And so that's why I think that it's almost like a catch-2 because in my specific situation, I was around a lot of women when I first got with my husband that really were not, you know what I mean, that really were not for me. And I couldn't see that because of really, if I can be honest, blind loyalty. And so he wasn't like, oh, you got to get away from them. But he did drop subtle hints that over time, hindsight is 2020, that allowed me to really see that the value that they had in my life, to me was actually detrimental to my growth. And so that is different, right? But during the process of courtship, when you start to allow your mate around the people that actually love you, peace, Sister Yashika, thank you for tuning in, around the people that actually love you and the people that actually want the best for you. If everyone is saying that this guy is tripping or this girl is tripping, peace, Sister Deja, or everybody is saying that this guy is tripping and this girl is tripping. And we're not talking about just the everybody's that, oh, I met them a couple years ago. We're talking about people that, walaikum salam, we're talking about people that have shown a history of being supportive, people that have shown a history, walaikum salam, Sister Deja, people that have shown a history of having your back, people that have shown a history, and this is kind of self detrimental, right? But this is how we tend to love people that have shown a history of putting you before them in certain instances where it could have been damaging to them, right? If all of them are saying, oh no, this dude, you know what I mean, he seemed a little controlling. Oh no, this girl seems a little bit like she's out of her mind. Those are things that we have to take heed of in the beginning, right? And not allow love to be the blinding factor. And most of the time, it's not really love that's the blinding factor, it's sex. We'll start getting with somebody and start having sex, not realizing that sex is an intoxicant. And when you are intoxicated with something, are you ever in your right mind to be able to see, to be able to logically think, to be able to identify things that can be harmful to you? No. So that's another part of the reason why sex is not encouraged before marriage. Because once you get drunk in the sexual aspect, we'll just about accept anything, and we'll rationalize it to ourselves um, as if what's happening is okay. Because we know how to talk to us, right? Especially if the relationship is fresh. Yes, sir. Especially if the relationship is fresh. Because we know how to talk to us in a way that will um, deactivate our defenses. We know how to talk to ourselves in a way that will calm our suspicion. We know how to talk to ourselves in a way that will continue to allow us to allow things that if we were not intoxicated by sex, if we were not intoxicated by if we were not intoxicated by the six sexual acts that happen, if we were not intoxicated by the intimacy, then we would otherwise be able to identify it. And so that's very important, especially, when those beginning phases, because if you having sex, you definitely need somebody to check them. So that was very important to me because that's true. If you have them around people that genuinely care about you, the other thing is we have to be open and willing to accept what we might not like, right? Because most of the time at that point when we introduce people to our family, we already been done getting it on. So it don't matter what they say. This is my boo. I don't care what you talking about, you hating. I don't care what you talking about, you jealous. I don't care what you talking about, you just want me to be around you all the time. Those are the things that we'll tell ourselves about people that are truly trying to help us. They jealous, they hating, they envious, they whoop. And then 10 years down the line, we got to go back to those same people and we don't never apologize. We just be like, we just give them the look that's like, oh, you right, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Look at some of these comments. Even when evidence presented itself that he was not right for me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The evidence will be right there. The evidence will be right there, and we will somehow distort it into something that's not that's completely the opposite of what it is. I've been on both sides of this. So true. You ain't lying, sis. Sex before marriage got me locked into domestic abuse because I got pregnant immediately. My friend told me all of that, and I had to remove myself from her because it was toxic. And it's so crazy because the other part of it too, right, is we'll know that we're being abused, and we'll know that we deserve better. But once we get pregnant, it's a whole different mindset that's triggered. Now we're in the mode of survival because we have a child. Like, we know you ain't nothing, dog, right? Or, sir, well, men, they did. I ain't gonna put this on all of y'all, but men, they'll easily dip. You know what I mean? They ain't got no kind of lockdown. Oh, you pregnant? Oh, we can stick this out. If they tired, they gonna dip. But as women, we get into survival mode. We have a child. Oh my gosh, I'm about to have a child. Oh my gosh, I don't want to be a single mom. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna work and have a child. Oh my gosh, my family ain't nothing. I ain't gonna have nobody help. So after we get pregnant, some of us are truly locked in because we don't have nothing else, honestly. Because our family situations are completely messed up. We haven't mended the relationships within our family. And we've really locked in on this person. So now we're pregnant, then what? My friend told me that 10 years down the line, 10 years and 2 children, no marriage. Whole difference in high school, sweet, and was a oh my God, a whole nightmare. A whole nightmare. Let me see. Another area where pathology occurs is the common experience of insecurity that grows out of intimate relationships. And this really is why I say that on the other side, that we have to, before we get in relationships and before we have the children, we have to really do some self searching and some self maintenance and some self nurturing, because it takes a confident person and a self-aware person to get into a relationship and not allow these type of issues to come up, right? We all have a certain level of insecurity, right? But once, if we don't take that time beforehand to at least try to find out who we are, then not only do we get resentful of our mate once we get together, because it's a whole different type of thing when between being boyfriend and girlfriend and being actually married, right? There's some restraints that are going to be put on your relationship that weren't there when you were boyfriend and girlfriend. And people think that it's the same, and it be happening almost immediately. Be like, oh no, now that person is, you know what I mean? That person, I don't really want you around, but it might have been cool when y'all was boyfriend and girlfriend. And so that's why we got to do that soul searching before, because these things are going to happen anyway, right? You have children now, you a little bit insecure around about the people that they be around. You know what I mean? But they've been there the whole time. But now what has changed for you is that, let me see what y'all talking about. Woo, children, I'm just finally cutting those ties from an abusive relationship. I didn't realize that when I left physically, it still affected me mentally and emotionally. Yes, ma'am, those triggers. Like I was listening to a reaction the other day, and this guy said that every time, like, his girlfriend had just come out of an abusive relationship, right? And every time he would reach for something, she would jump, not because she was scared that he would hit her. Her body was naturally reacting to the stretches that she had been under for so long. So physically leaving, that's the first step. The healing that comes after that, that's the real work, in my opinion, because I've never really been in a abusive relationship where somebody, you know what I mean, was physically or mentally abusing me. But in my mind, it's always the mental that locks us in somewhere. Even if our body is in one place, our mind can be right back in that place. So correct me if I'm wrong, if you have that, you know what I mean, if you've had that experience. But I believe that after you leave is when the real work starts. The self search is everything. You're right about that there. Wow, this is powerful, especially coming out of a DV month of October. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Educate me. What's the difference? What's the difference? What you mean, Sister Nadia? Educate me. What's the difference? What's the difference between what? Sis, let me know. Those triggers, real work. You are correct. Yes, facts, facts. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Um, and then I think the last thing I want to go over is one pathology in the love relationship that can produce violence is the issue of authority and power. By nature, the man is in authority over the household. Now, this gets me into that whole conversation that we've been having about 50-50 or 100%, or my money is my money and your money is my money. That conversation, right? Because I think that the part of the conversation that is not being properly addressed, in my opinion, is the psychology behind going 50-50, right? Because it's not just about, oh, we can't afford this, blah blah blah, right? Because a lot of us are not in a mental space to be able to go 50-50 and not allow it to affect how we move, right? Because if I can be transparent, there was a time where I got pregnant and my husband dropped everything that he had, and he had moved up to Merced, which was 4 hours to where we're from, LA. And just the fact that, because it's where I'm from, I had already had a job. I was already working. I was working part-time, and I also had school full-time. So just the fact that in my head that I was the breadwinner, right? Of course, we don't really use that language in our head, but just the fact that I was the one that was bringing in the funds, it gives you a different walk. right? It gives you a different level of respect that you give your partner. It gives you a different level of it. I don't want to say a different level, but it diminishes your femininity, in my opinion, from my experience, right? And so people want to have this 50-50 conversation, but they're talking about surface level stuff. Oh, the economy this, the economy that. But in truth, it's a lot of psychology that goes into being a man that is splitting your responsibility with a woman. And then she goes in to say that by nature, the man is an authority over the household. However, that authority arises from fulfilling his natural responsibility to protect and provide for his wife and children. When the woman has to share financial responsibility, it begins to produce a shift in authority. This can create tension, which leads to violence. Now, we're not having the conversation about, oh, your husband is working two jobs and it's just not cutting, so you doing whatever to help. That's different. But we're talking about we're going into a relationship and 50 here and 50 there. And the other side too is that men are not like naturally, they still believe that we're supposed to be cooking and cleaning. So we're talking about 50-50 on rent, but there isn't an extended part of the conversation that's talking about 50-50 of the housework, because in their mind, they still believe that that's a woman's job. Right. And in our mind, we start to get resentful because we feel that because we're helping them financially, it should be reciprocated. Right. And I think, what was it the other day? I forgot exactly what my husband said. He said that just because there is a giving of something on one end, there shouldn't be an expectation of a return, because giving is a choice. So let me scroll back up because y'all teaching in the comments. Marriage or courting and dating. Okay, so the difference, let's go there. The difference between marriage, the difference between courting and dating is that dating is a casual term that we use to lock ourselves to somebody and be able to act grown. Grown in the sense that we living together, we having children together, we might be having a little sex on the not on the side, but we might be having sex, but there is nothing that ties us together as one, right? And we'll go years in the dating phase, and then realize that one thing happens, and that's not the person that we want to be with. Courting is a strict process that you go, and most of the times it's like chaperone. Y'all going on dates with other married couples that are mature, but the courting process is just like when you finna go to jail. It's the courting process. You gonna ask those questions that you might not ask while you're dating. Have you ever been molested? How are you with your money? What's your credit score? Because the courting process is your approval process, really, to really dig deep into the other person, male into female, female into male, that does not involve sex, to find out if that person is the one that you want to marry. So when you enter into a courtship, know that the goal is marriage. Dating, we don't really have a goal for marriage. We just want to be together. So that's the difference between courtship and dating. Yes, ma'am. Mental abuse is the worst to me. I was going through that when I was much younger with my boyfriend. Then I was suicidal and depressed. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. When your mind gets locked in a place, depression is soon to follow when it's not a place that you want to be. And it's so easy, especially as women, to get locked into that place, because there are things that we deal with on a daily basis that we've learned how to lock inside of ourselves. And then people only see it once it's exploded. Because we have been told that we have been shown, I don't want to say told, but we have been shown that our voices don't matter. We don't have safe spaces to be able to speak and think freely. And so because of that, we've learned how to censor our voices. Like one person said, I was listening to a song called Too Much to Say, and she said, in the song, she said, when I was young, basically, she had been molested when she was young. And she said, I'm getting hot between my legs when I shouldn't have been. But I didn't want to tell my mom because I didn't want the drama, right? And so we've learned over time that, one, our voices in some sense don't matter. And two, even when we use our voices, people will not stand up for us. And so we've learned to censor ourselves until it's too much to censor. Yes, it's necessary to leave. It's hard, but 100% necessary. I applaud and uplift any woman or man escaping a domestic violence situation, no matter how long it took. That fact that you had courage to get out and move on. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah for those who had that power and encouragement and support. Because sometimes you'll have support and then you'll not use it enough. Powerful. Yashiga experienced the same exact thing. The cycle in my life I don't want to ever experience again. As time when I made him my God. That was many years ago, but still some of that affects how I move now with my husband. Yes, ma'am. Experienced that shacking. The world practice dating. Yes, ma'am. The effects still linger. Courting is established by God and his Messiah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I have certain triggers that bring that up. True, those triggers are some damaging. The physical goes away, but that mental is deep. The minister even talked about that. Yes, ma'am. That's why that auditing is essential. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up there. We just finished reading chapter 6. This will be going up on my YouTube. And chapters 1 through 5 are already up and on my YouTube. So if you want to catch up with us, we're probably going to read either chapter 7 tomorrow, which is the resolution of conflict. Praise be to Allah. Amen. So I'm gonna commit to reading chapter 7 tomorrow. Of course, share this live or share the actual post out to some people and comment on the post actually when I post it what you got out of this live. And as always, if you are open, support your sis. Okay. So peace family. I'll talk to you soon and please enjoy the rest of your day. Hey Ray, thank you for tuning in.